We might have technical difficulties today. Hold on. This makes a difference. All right. My bad, my bad. It's 53 people in here. We 2 minutes in. Hit the one if you can hear me and see me. Hit the one if you can hear me and see me. Drop your city and state. You know, Skynet be Skynapping. Okay. As you can see, the title essentially. Let's just go there, right? I had got inspired because I watched some other videos earlier about the Victorian age and how these had these large families and what they did to work together and you know, all this stuff. All right. So if you can hear me and see me, drop a one in the comments. Let me know if you can hear me and see me. You guys should be at the 2 minutes and change mark. We're closer to the Starbucks. But listen. Long and the story short, I watched the clip and Chris Rock was like, man, have a bunch of kids or have none. He was like, you got one kid, you're the show. You always got to entertain this kid. If you got two kids, they entertain each other. He's like, have a bunch or have none. This is what leads me to believe at some point Chris Rock probably gonna have more kids. It's crazy, but you know, it is what it is. Like same thing with Nick Cannon, we make fun of him having all these kids, but if you notice across America, ADUs are growing in popularity. Now, many people think it's because of Airbnb, they can rent out the back rooms, but really the truth is mother-in-law suites, having an opportunity for your younger adult kids to be separate from the house in like a backyard apartment is a thing that only the wealthy could do for a long time, right? Like if you go in parts of Detroit, they have old carriage houses, which are left over from the Victorian age, which are left over from slavery too as well. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Let's just go there. If you go somewhere in the South, you see a lot of that as well. These old additional houses to the side or to the left of the house because of slavery, right? And because of the Victorian age, right? So if you look at some of those, and the Victorian age is like 1890 to 1930, right? And so you had this formation of the nuclear family after the Victorian age. Why? Because people started moving to the cities for work. And so they started having these smaller apartments and smaller places they live. But even if you look back in documentation, even in New York, they had 10, 20, 30 people smashed up in an apartment because it was just crazy, right? They were building substandard housing all over New York, right? There are people living underground, right? These TV shows and movies you see aren't that far off from the truth. Now, why is Downtown Abbey popular? It's an American woman who has money. I'm giving you a synopsis. American woman whose father has all this money, right? And marries her off because he wants the title and the distinguishment of being with a royal family. Well, what people didn't realize at that time in America is America, as it is today, is a gold mine. You could come here and create. The more you have a disruptive economy, the more money you will make, right? And what ends up happening is these Americans were making all this money in industry and oil and gas and railroad, and they would basically marry their daughters off to people who were dukes and duchesses. They weren't like the Prince Harry or nothing, but they were along the line somewhere royalty. You're right, a cousin of a cousin of a cousin, right? And so they would get to these big old houses and be excited because they thought they were going to go live in a castle. Really, the people were using their father's money to rebuild the houses and keep them afloat because really a lot of Europe was broke. The only person who had money was the queen and some of the royalty, right? And so when you look back on those times, people romanticize them, and the Downtown Abbey show became so popular because you had always had this drama going on in the house. Now, if you ever go listen, asking people about back in the day in the South, when your grandma had 8, 12 kids, right? 8, 7, 6, 9, 10 kids. It was always something going on in the house. Kids kind of took care of each other. And if you actually look at kinship groups which are Indian, with a dot, not a feather, and also Latino groups, you got so many adults in the room. A child never went without food. A child never went without attention. A child never had a moment where they weren't cared for, fed, or loved. That's the best way I can say it. That's the nicest way I can say it for it, right? Somebody loved on the child. Somebody cared for the child. Somebody made sure the child was looked out. And if you pay attention in society, those groups did the best, right? Or people always had these great auntie stories in these romance novels and these old novels. And it's because every family had, if you ever had 5, 6 kids, you always had a spinster aunt that was just not necessarily ugly, but sometimes just off-putting, right? You always had a spinster or certified bachelor uncle, right? A spinster was someone who, honestly, the word spinster came out of women who could knit and sew clothes and take care of themselves financially, right? Even teachers, right? Like, oh, Mrs. Whatever is a teacher because she's a spinster. She takes care of herself because she can afford to take care of herself. So at any given time in a family, you had 2, 3 spare siblings. When Prince Harry writes about being the spare, it's kind of comical because it's like, dude, that's what the Royal England wanted, right? Queen Elizabeth's family, Queen Elizabeth wasn't even supposed to be Queen Elizabeth. Her father wasn't even supposed to be king. What ended up happening is her uncles gave up the title so they could go marry a regular American princess, right? American movie star, right? Another brother just didn't want to do it, right? We saw Game of Thrones, right? Aegon was tripping. They had all these kids, right? And beyond the wall, the Night's Watch was one of the brothers, right? So you always had these extra spare people in your life, right? And what ends up happening? You're getting to it, Tiffany, before I can relate. Wait a minute. I'm going to get there. Hold on. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to get there. And so what ended up happening is now you're having the rise of these adults returning back home. Everybody's cramped and stressed out. I watched this really distressing video where it was a Latino man who, and this is in New York. I'm not making fun of New Yorkers, but they renting out. They got 2 kids. They're in a room. Their kids are in a room. They got a grown man that's a stranger renting a room from them. And they found out he was touching one of the daughters. That's 12. Well, they're fighting him. They're beating him up. They're doing that stuff. And I'm like, first of all, the cops gonna get there and go, why do you have a strange Latino man renting a room from you and y'all are black and y'all are no at all related to him? This is where this house hacking, once you have children, doesn't make any sense. Starts getting real dumb because you're trying to do it in apartments and places you don't really own. It's just, now you're just trying to cram multiple people into a house. It's ridiculous. And so ADUs are more attractive because, oh, our tenant that's in the back of the garage apartment is back there, right? And usually they're near a college and this person comes in and out and they go in and out, right? And mind their business and leave your family alone. And so I was watching this Vice special on this woman who was in California. Her husband divorced her. She had 2 daughters. They literally, were struggling to stay in LA until her friend, who has a big house with a pool in the back and has a apartment garage, let them convert the apartment garage. So the mom has a couch and a kitchen, everything downstairs where you would really park your cars. And then the girls, they share a room upstairs with 1 bathroom. Now, one of the girls was like, oh my God, I hate COVID because now I'm back in this situation. Sharing a space, for one, with my mom and my other sister, that's really in the backyard of my mom's friend. And her mom's friend is married, right? And so you start hearing these really, convoluted, crazy ass stories where people are all living together, trying to make it work. And it really comes out of money, right? I didn't watch Everybody Hates Chris, but I mean, I can believe it. Chris Rock family had, 8 to 9 kids? And so what happens is these people have all these kids, but they don't have the finances to really maintain all these children. Hence, Chris Rock daddy worked himself till he died. He fell over. He basically had appendicitis, and he just kept working through the pain and died. And that's, men just live like that, right? And so this brought me up to a modern time where I was watching this guy, and I'm not being disrespectful to him or his family. It's been about 2 years now, so I feel like I can talk about it and not be disrespectful. But he worked for Carrot, and Carrot was really big with wholesalers. It helped you do follow up. It helped you reach out to repeatedly reach out for wholesalers, right? And he was one of their best salesmen. And he started a flipping company where he's just flipping in Fayetteville and Wilmington, North Carolina. And he's Native American, right? And it was like, great, this is awesome. Well, COVID happens, and I think a combination of him taking the shot and he wasn't feeling well because he was already kind of overweight, Native American guy. And he's from like Arizona, Native American, so that kind of Navajo. And he has a heart attack and dies. Now the kids, he has 2 sons and a daughter. They've been watching him flip houses. They're in the videos, they're in the pictures. They've seen him like kind of working the phones and know how to do it. Like his wife's seen some of it, but really she's a homemaker, even though their kids are older. She's a homemaker. And so literally they had to come online and go, hey, you guys, we're so sad. I'm not going to say his name. We're so sad he passed away. But what we're going to do is give his wife a year of his salary, no sweat off our back. We're just going to give it to her. And, we're going to pray for her and make sure she gets all the projects he was working on finished and flipped. Well, what was the problem in that scenario? Your husband's out here working his ass off, but he's in a active model. He's flipping, right? Instead of, okay, out of every 2 flips, I need to hold one. Out of every 3 flips, I need to hold one and have rentals, right? Because if you die and you got 10 rentals, yes, your wife is devastated, but now she has a what? A estate to manage. They literally said in the video, we if you want to donate, they literally made a GoFundMe. If you want to donate to his family, we'd love that, And I just was embarrassed for her. Not because I don't think she had insurance. They may have some insurance, but the fact that your husband is out here online promoting, flipping houses, he's flipping multiple houses. You're seeing the sale sign. You're seeing them go for sale. So there's money being made, but yet here we are on a GoFundMe campaign. Right? And so it's unfortunate because common sense says at this point for me, the closer I get to 40, baby, every day I'm like, listen, rentals. A little bit of commercial, a little bit of rentals, a little bit of some kind of service business that you can hire staff and let them run it for you. And the more you get closer to old money and I get closer to reading and investigating and understanding my family, our family always managed land. We always manage people, right? We have people who work for our family right now. There's a guy and we call him Buddy. I'm just saying this really nicely, Buddy. And he cuts the grass for all our family members, outside my nephew, of course. And he, does handyman work. He essentially just works for our family. Like our uncles find gigs for him to do. That's his job. That's it. And people be like, no, Erica, no way. Yeah, our family literally provides ongoing job situation and payment to a guy named Buddy back in North Carolina. And he literally comes to each house, helps clean up, helps cut whatever needs done, cutting grass, cutting bushes. One time he got on the roof, hurt himself. I mean, like he just does whatever our family needs done because all our family members own houses and own other properties, right? And when I looked at it, I would tell people and they would look at me like I was crazy. And I go, no, really, old money is managing the assets you have and providing jobs. That's it, right? Even now, I tell my family, listen, I'm probably going to come invest X amount of dollars into North Carolina. I'm going to buy up like 100 units. I'm just giving y'all a random number. This is random. This is not my exact plan. Somebody's going to think it is. It's not. And I'm going to buy up 100 units and I'm going to get a management office here and I'm going to do this. And some of y'all going to work it. And my nephews will always have grass contracts forever. Buddy and some of our other family workers are always going to have some kind of handyman work available to the degree that they can do it. And I was telling somebody that and they were just shocked. They're like, oh, I wouldn't do all of that. I wouldn't do all that. I'm like, why wouldn't you? You now have insulated your family for future work. You already have allotted them to future work, right? You already are going to be training them for management and you're going to be training them to what? Receive assets. Now, this is not without children, right? This is where it gets into the crux of where people get upset with me and others. People are like, oh, you don't need children for your own legacy. That's fine. You got nieces and nephews. That's fine. But there becomes an age with those nieces and nephews, right? From 1 year old to 10, their favorite people is their aunties and their parents. That's it. And grandma and grandpa. But at some point after that, these kids go out in the world to look for people, love, and money. Why? Because y'all don't have anything planned for them. Y'all don't have anything planned for them. And if you like the commentary, at least just drop me a 1 right now. So I know you hear me, you see me, you hear where I'm going with this. There's all these videos popping up of Black people buying land compounds in Georgia. There was a family the other day went viral for buying 88 acres, right? And they're going to move all their family on it. And here's the thing. Extended family is that is swinging back in style. Why is that swinging back in style? Because financially it's squeezing people. This is why all the houses you see in Dallas and North Texas all have mother-in-law suites built into them, right? They may market it to you like, oh, you can rent this room out. It could be an apartment. It could be this. No, what it is a mother-in-law suite. And some of them are separate, have separate interests. And at the end of the day, right? End of the day, these are where people's mothers are going to live. This is where their adult children come back from college are going to live. And the people who have something set up are going to survive and thrive. And we're going back to this Victorian age where there's a ton of people now. Now, Georgetown, Texas, love it. It's always been great. They've built all these really big 1-acre lots, big giant houses, 6-bedroom houses before the market was ready. Now, this one I got here about 2012. And people were like, oh my God, those houses are just sitting empty. What's going to happen? Well, a lot of Indian people that worked at Dale would partner up and go into these houses. You'd have 10 cars outside. And this is not uncommon because this is how they lived in India, right? So you got one room over here, it's got 2 adults and a kid. This room got 2 adults and a kid, right? And you're thinking, why are y'all smashed up in these rooms like this? Well, when their home country, they would be. And if you actually talk to Indian folks who are relatively new here, they will tell you America's very lonely because we're so isolated. You see all these countless videos of young people saying they have no friends. You see all these videos of people basically adult hermits, saying all they do is go to work, go to the gym, and go home. And then so they're frustrated, they're angry, they're online talking about how women is bad, and men this, because they're not in a community. Right? When you hear all these women complaining about motherhood, which is just weird, it's animalistically weird, because they're doing all the work. They're working a full-time job, coming home, cooking, cleaning, doing all these things, and trying to raise children. That was never the plan. We lived in community and kinship. We had kind of designated roles. And so when you're trying to go out here as a nuclear family, and this is where they always have these articles about nuclear family is where America went wrong. When you have these little isolated nuclear families, mom's burnt out. Mom's asking for a divorce because it's what's the point? Dad isn't helping, right? Dad's going to work. He's tired. Everybody's tired. No one really is fully invested in the children. Yep, rugged individualism. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. So, you start having real conversations with people who have a little bit of money. And every single one of those people that I've met that have a little bit of money, they do a significant amount of travel as a family unit. They bring a grandma, they bring a grandpa, everybody going on the trip. And then on top of that, they have these additional house space for grandma. I had a friend who her parents moved to another state to help their daughter because she had 3 children under the age of 3 or something crazy number. And so they stayed there for 5 years. The dad was an accountant. He can do anything he wants. He can work from wherever. So he did 5 years in that state so that they could be hands-on, working side by side with their daughter, whose husband was in the military, and traveling. All right? They could be hands-on, and it was a community effort to raise those children. Period. Now, when those children got about 9, 10, 11, they were like, all right, peace out. We're coming back to Texas and going on about our lives because we did what we needed to do to help you in a community way to get those kids where they needed to be. And so what happens is we start realizing that old model worked because it worked, right? And here's the problem. The reason you have people, now there's 2 reasons. I'm gonna go there. You have toxic family. I won't lie. You have people who are toxic and dangerous. You have pedophiles. You have all kind of craziness going on. So sometimes people can't live near their family. They got touchy uncles or something's going on, right? They can't do it. But in general, when you find someone who's like, I'm a single mom and it's just so hard and there's no help. First, but I look at her first things first. Where's your church? Who's your community? Where's your so-called friends? You don't have no play date set up for your children. You should have been building a community. You don't just jump off. I got married. We're going to run off and we're just going to have a bunch of kids. And now you look up and like there's no one around to help. right? So that's a dangerous model anyway. That's why when you go to a lot of these churches, not little hole in the wall pimp preacher churches, but real actual churches that have staff that are full time, that get paid, and a regular structure. They have actual things to help you. Oh, me, hey, it's mommy meet day, right? So you can kind of pick your own friends. Like, hey, every woman's got a child or two. Come to these mommy meet days, and then they all meet each other and see what works, right? And then they have just different things, newlywed group days, all this other stuff, right? And so it's teams that win. Now I'm not picking on this boy. I'm not gonna say his name. Y'all be acting like I'm making YouTube beefs. I'm really not. But there's several black male YouTubers, not just one, multiples, and a few Asian guys I'm thinking of too, because I look at their channel. They went over. I'm gonna give the first two. They went over to Africa. They went to Africa. They'd be there for a year. Now they coming back. You like, why are you coming back? And they just mad. They so mad. I was in Africa and it's unorganized and it's chaotic and the internet goes out and the TV sometimes doesn't work and I don't like it and I couldn't get into groups with people. Why? Because you're a lone foreigner competing against families. You're a lone foreigner coming to Africa, and the first thing I'm gonna tell my daughter is stay away from that American. Stay away from that American, because who knows what he's here to do. He's here to do something nefarious. Same way they've been treating them Chinese people. Stay away from that Chinese man, because you're going to end up knocked up with a baby and no one in our community is going to marry you. And so you got all these half black Chinese babies running around. You got a bunch of UN war babies running around as well. And so now these people are very tribal. Now I'm going to say something that's offensive. I don't care that it's offensive. I'm not a Anglophobe. I forgot the word, but it's like where you love British culture and English culture. A colonist. Because trust me, I'm Native American. I believe that, the Great Expansion and all that stuff was disastrous for our people. But at the end of the day, when you actually look at Jamaica, and that's why y'all was mad at me, I'm going to go on it. I'm going to touch on it a little bit. When you look at Jamaica, when you look at India, when you look at a lot of these countries in Latin America, the longer the British or Spanish were there, the better the damn country. Let me say that again. People get mad. Other than Ethiopia, they're the only one that didn't, But the longer the British was there, the better. As soon as the British got out, the black people there went back to tribalism as quickly as possible. So it didn't matter who was in power. Oh, we're just going to get for our little group. Be damned by the rest of the country. We're just going to do our little group. And so these countries you come to are so chaotic and so out of order. You as a lone man can't go into Africa and be like, I'm going to come over here and make money and live and chase booty. It don't work, because you ain't from a family and you ain't got no money, real resources, not like I play on the internet money, but real resources to help. Now somebody's already gonna, you're talking about colonism. Oh my God. Look, I already know I'm losing some of y'all. You're not long-term seekers, and that's okay. Keep it pushing. But I want you to really go spend a whole day looking at the countries, England, not Spain. Spain and France was kind of wild. But mostly England, you look at how long, when it was the British Raj, look at their roads, look at their buildings, look at their sewer system. Now look at it now. They've even said themselves, we're going back towards an English model of developing these roads in cities and states. They say it themselves. Their government officials are like, we realized that was a great grid system they gave us, and we're going to continue to follow it now. Same thing when you go over into parts of Africa. The countries that had the French, unfortunately, the French are so horrible, and the British countries there, the longest, they have the most developed roads, the most developed water systems. You can literally go in parts of Liberia and just drink the water right out of the tap, and you will never get sick. This is why you're seeing these Americans and these white, British, and Australian people live over there. They're fine because the water system is intact. They're just maintaining it now. But if you want to go to Africa and you have no skills, you're not a handyman, you can't fix nothing, you can't build nothing, they don't need you. You're just another person doing something to get a few dollars or coins every day. And again, people are going to get lost. And Erica said colonialism is good. The white people were good. Listen, I just want you, again, I just want you to understand, he is most convinced wins. You can read Grant Cardone's book about Sell or Be Sold, but it's really the truth. When you come to these places and you kind of enforce your will on these places and kind of, hey, this is how we're going to do things, this is how we're going to straighten up, this is how we're going to do this. Then we're gonna have engineers, we're gonna have planners, we're gonna line this city up. When the Queen of England comes, she's gonna ride down these roads in a nice car. And like Queen Elizabeth literally is like the world record holder for visiting countries. Like to her death, she used to jokingly say, "I visited more Africa than you," and she won't lie. And most of Africans ain't been to other countries in Africa because they don't have the means or the resources or worried about their safety to do so. So you have these YouTubers who went over there on the blah, blah, blah. I'm a man. I'm going where the women listen to me train. They get over there and realize those families ain't playing with you, son. You don't got no money and you don't have no resources and you don't have a plan. I'm not letting my daughter play around with you. You better get on out of here before you get beat up by all our cousins. You better get out of my face. And this is what is happening. This is okay. So part of why Haiti's in chaos is Haiti put out the French, right? But instead of people going, all right, Haiti put out the French, let's keep it moving. French went on 100-year vendetta. Like, we're going to make sure you never stand up. You're going to never stand up. We're going to make sure you never can really thrive. That's why you look at the Dominican Republic versus Haiti and you're shocked. Right now, there's a part of the Dominican Republic. It literally looks like little Miami Brickell. If you could get, and I tell people this all the time, we could get 1 million Haitians here, because there's only 10 million of them. You get 1 million of them here, and they send money home like the Mexicans send money home. Boy, Haiti would look like Miami in 3 years. They couldn't stop the flow of the money, but the tribalism to be like, I got mine. We got nice TVs. We got food. Okay. There's no future thought for the country, right? You look at Brazil. Same thing with Brazil. Okay. There are parts of South America. Say what you want. The structure is there. You know what I'm saying? And so why am I bringing this up? Why am I talking about this? Because they're showing more studies now. And this is, I'm going to give one from Kevin Samuels. People ate him alive when he showed that during the pandemic, marriage certificates went up 25%. And everybody's like, oh, no. They were so upset when he shared that because they were like, well, look at the data. When you actually dig in the data, it was mostly people in their late 30s to 50s that had gotten married during the pandemic. Why is that? Why is that? Because the people that ran through their life and realized, I'm just focused on me. Some of them ain't got no kids, right? They just focused on them and whatever they want to do and frolic and lollop from every town to city to state, keep moving around and have no assets and nothing of value. The pandemic snapped it in reality real quick, like, oh shit, I ain't got nobody, or I don't have the structure, or I don't have a whatever. So a lot of these people got married, and a lot of people it's a huge rise right now of women 37 to 39 getting pregnant. There's a huge rise of women 40 to 45 getting pregnant. Now it's a 2% increase, which sounds small, but you're talking about a country of 330 million people. 2% is huge. When they sit here and tell you on the last census, Hispanic Americans went up 25% birth rate rise, and Asian Americans went up 25%. American Indians went up 9%, and Black people went up 8%, and white people went up 2%. People didn't understand those numbers. They just heard, okay, there's more Asians. No. You had an influx of immigration bring a lot of Asians here illegally. They overstayed their visas, all that good stuff. And people started marrying them because now there are more to marry. Well, what are Asian Americans and Indian Americans doing right now in America? Buying up everything they can touch. Indian Americans just going buy this hotel. We'll live in the hotel. I'll bring my cousins over here. We'll do A, B, and C. Now we'll start buying stuff in that town. Now we own half the town. Right? Okay. Same thing when you talk about Asian Americans. They're buying franchises. Bruce Jung. A lot of South Koreans come to America because they cannot survive financially in South Korea. This is not made up. This is straight up data. I remember my friend, her mom is Korean, her dad is Black. And her family begged him for a year, please, just let us come. Please let us come. And he was like, nah, I remember y'all called me a nigga. I'm not letting y'all come over here. I'm not signing no papers. Because if you're military, you can actually sign off for your wife's extended family as a voucher. Like, I vouch for them. They're not going to come here and do crime, etc., etc. And so America fast tracks them in, right? He wouldn't do it. So they're suffering. I mean, their grandma had cancer, so they brought her over. They gave her some cancer treatment. Her brother had a stroke. He in a wheelchair. They were like, if we could bring him, we would, but he need to stay over there. They were struggling, and because in their culture, the oldest brother takes care of the family. Couldn't do it. He's in a wheelchair. Can't do shit. And they're struggling and they're suffering in South Korea, in their own home country. They're suffering. So their mom is over here with a flea market store, and every dollar she's making, she's just sending it back. She's just sending it back because she's got an American husband who they got a house, they got 2 kids. She don't need the excess money. She's just sending it back. She helped her children buy houses. That's it. And then she just sends all the money back because they really are struggling in their country. So when you see Asian Americans get here, and I'm using Brian John as an example, his mama works at the post office. His daddy just been a handyman his whole life. They didn't really have no skills. They came here from South Korea broke and basically were still broke. Brian Jung had to work at 16. And so finally, when he was able to touch that money, he wanted to retire them, but they were like, no, we don't want to retire. Let's just invest the money because they're so scared of that. So he's buying franchises all over Virginia. He's doing all this investment. That's why these Asian YouTubers, when you see them, they're not here to play. They really invest in this YouTube money, right? When I actually go in the room with some of these guys, the first thing I kept telling y'all, every YouTuber I know that bought a house before and during the pandemic, they straight. They took the equity out their houses. They living their best life. They doing all kind of investment, right? And a lot of people can't even tell you how much money they really made because the backlash is going to be real. I know 3 different people who made over $10 million. They can never say it on their channels because people would be like, there's something about when you make too much money, people get mad, right? Or they expect you to live a certain way. Like people used to be like, Erica, where's your fancy cars? And I'm like, in that house over there. That money's in that house over there. That's where it should be. And so you're going to start seeing more people buy houses because many people can't understand, well, why won't the housing market crash? Because these people need somewhere for them and their whole family to go. There's a couple here on YouTube. It's a Black couple. They were in Raleigh, North Carolina. They both in tech. They're both in their 40s, 50s. They realized by the time they looked up, they're paying money through the nose. They hate Raleigh because they're bored. They're from DC. They always want some party going on. Their kids are in college in DC. Their family's in Virginia. Everybody's struggling. Guess what they did? They took all their money. They work remote and they moved to DC area, Arlington, Virginia, I think, and rented this giant house. So they son in there now. They daughter in there now. They mother in there now. They in there. Then on top of that, they had a cousin downstairs. And you would think that's crazy, but you're talking about one of these big, big houses in Arlington, Virginia, not a tiny one, right? And so the family is cooperatively working together to what? Live their best life in DC. Pay rent, live their best life, drive the best cars in this house. But that's because they all are what? Working progressively in the same direction. All working into tech, all working into something, security clearance related jobs, right? They're doing good work. That's how you do it. Is that you, Tracy Turner? What you doing in here, man? What you doing in here, man? Get on out of here. And they're living it. There you go. Right? And so when they did that video, I could see in the comments, some people didn't understand it, some people did. But I was like, y'all, this is how America operates. If you are smart enough to get a big enough property, you can do this. Our family has a Victorian house that I totally want to remodel and throw weddings out of. But I don't know nobody's gonna back me on that idea. But I know it's a good one because it's a model many people in North Carolina are following. There's a couple who are in Greensboro, and the husband inherited his grandma's giant house. Well, they've converted it to a wedding venue. It's a venue that's gonna be like very populous, very like the people who are to do are going to always be booking this place because it has this great estate, right? And so what I'm trying to get you guys to understand that like the extended family model, the closest we'll see it is if you go to Mexico, you have the kind of kinship group. There's like 70-ish people kind of working together. I remember this guy was on YouTube saying, I've got 30 siblings. And I said, what? And he was serious. He's like, I got 30 siblings. My dad married multiple times. He has this big compound. He just was used to that. And people thought it was the craziest thing. There's a white woman with a black husband. Shaq gave them a vehicle. The Colliners, the Colliers, something like that. And People been attacking her because they got 10 kids. They got 3 boys and 7 girls. And people been attacking her. You need to stop getting pregnant. You need to stop doing this. And I was laughing because I'm like, y'all, the fact that she has all these kids is the reason Shaq gave the family cars, the reason they have sponsorships. At some point, these kids make this dynasty what it is, right? And so you're trying to tell people, like, if you actually sit back and pay attention, they're good. They're real good, right? And so a lot of times what you underestimate is the power of, and I get it, somebody's, hope that echo goes away. A lot of y'all are not going to understand what I'm saying about the rise of adults and late marriages, late kids, right? A lot of y'all are not going to understand what I'm saying about extended families and Spanish and Indian American families. That's okay. I get it. Everybody's not going to get what I'm talking about today. And that's okay. That's really okay. But you'll start to see these trends pop up, right? Because the people that are really going to be suffering, unfortunately, is going to be like the single mom with 1 kid and she really doesn't have a great job. You know, or the guy who has 4 or 5 kids in different homes. None of the kids are really going to thrive because they're not under one house with him. And he's on the line complaining about child support or something. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's crazy. And so when I explained to my family, hey, this is what we're going to do. And I'm going to come in this town and I'm going to take the spillover money from these projects in Texas and put it over here. And I'm going to teach some cousins how to do A, B, and C. They were like, okay. And I laughed because they were saying, okay, because the person who's most convinced wins. The person who has the strongest, like, we're going to do this, wins. And this is what we're doing. And when you have when you have the money, people follow. It's just one of those things, right? So again, if you never watched Downtown Abbey and you don't know what I'm talking about, that's okay. If you haven't noticed the trend of ADUs, even here in the city of Austin, they've changed the regulations on how many units you can build on a property. You will see this trend not for Airbnb, not for vacation rentals, but because people's adult children will be living in the apartment behind them, in the garage, and stacking up their money, right? It just will be that way, and you'll start noticing it more and more. If you actually pay attention on some of these YouTube channels, literally there's one kid in Tennessee, his neighbor was like, man, your son's working so hard, and he lives behind y'all house in an RV. I'm gonna sell him a piece of land beside us. Sells him the piece of land, the dude builds a house, records it all for YouTube, made an additional $150,000 off YouTube. Y'all watching him build a house, and he didn't know what he was doing. He's building from scratch, and he built it for $150,000. All of this is possible because the neighbor saw a grown son living with his family in an RV in the back and working his butt off every day. It's like that every day. Yeah, Houston has changed its ADUs. That's right. So I'm gonna read over. Understand why am I bringing this up? Why am I talking about this? We're always gonna have cousins who are not on the plan, because here's the negative. Embrace yourself. I know somebody's not gonna like this. The negative side of this is there's rules, and you have to follow the rules, and you have to contribute to the whole house, the rugged individualism that I'm gonna do whatever I want, whenever I want, come in whatever I want. That ain't gonna play. That ain't gonna work. There's a I'm trying to be careful here, trying to be nice. There's a level of I'm doing what I want to do. I'm grown. That ain't gonna work. That will not work in the system. You will literally not work in communal housing like that. It won't work, right? I'm a man. I'm gonna do whatever I want to do whenever I want to. That ain't gonna work either, right? And there's be careful. A lot of men marry women who do not like the man's mom. That's a dangerous recipe, because you have to work generationally, at least with this woman, for 18 years with your child. All right. And these whole families have to work together. There's a couple on Instagram, and they're on YouTube too, but mostly YouTube's blowing up now. But it's a black girl. It's called King of Queens. You can look her up. She has a white husband. He's like 6'5". He's a truck driver. And when many people are like, oh, you a gold digger, you at home, stay at home mom, you ain't helping him. And she's like, the crazy part is I helped him improve his credit, and that's how we were able to get this house. So yes, I'm a stay-at-home mom. And she has 2 kids from a previous relationship. And he met her, married her, and now they're on their second kid. So they have 4 kids now at this house. And in a little bit, they'll be the 4th baby. The last one will be the 4th kid. And so what happens is the father, the black man father, who is not participating, kicked the woman out. It's a part of her whole story of starting Instagram. He's still not participating. He's still being doing whatever he wants. But she took it upon herself to call his parents and said, listen, we're taking the kids to Hawaii. We got all these children. It's a lot of kids. We need help. I'm inviting you as the first two children, grandparents, to come along on us because, we're getting this money off YouTube, right? And Instagram. And my husband makes money and we good. So they come along and they literally acknowledge you're technically these children's father, right? And how difficult and how embarrassing must that be as a parent that your son, your grown son, will not act right, that you are on vacation with a 6'5" white man and your former daughter-in-law and your grandkids. And these kids really know this man as father. That's embarrassing, but it is the challenges of what people are going to have to encounter. And so many people were killing her in the comments. And I said, y'all, that is the perfect example of group economics and group management of children. Their son won't act right, so they step into place. They have an actual father that's there daily, if you want to consider it like that. But they're taking the whole family out on vacation together. It saves money. It saves time. It saves them from spending money on nannies. It's a win-win for everybody involved. It's a win-win for everybody. And so part of what I want you to understand is if you don't have plans like this for your family, I get it, right? It's stressful. Your family don't want to act right. Your kids don't want to act right. I understand, right? I completely understand. But I want you to understand too that your parents, unless they're going into subsidized 55 plus housing, might be coming to live with you. Your kids leaving college, not doing it like they're supposed to, might come have to live with you. Your grandkids might have to live with you. There's somebody who's close to our family right now. He owns a business with multiple trucks, multiple rental properties, and his 93-year-old mother lives with him. His granddaughter and her baby lives with him because he has such a massive property. And everybody's kind of just working around each other. And so the grandma's taken care of, right? She's active, walking, talking, drinking, cooking. And the grandchild's taken care of. The granddaughter, baby, is also taken care of. And many people would be very pushed back against this. But the more I see it work, I'm like, yo, this just works. When I tell y'all I'm getting the beach house in North Carolina, it's so that I have this family time with my family and they can just come to the beach house. And when I'm not there, the beach house is rented out. The lone wolf doesn't survive, but the pack survives. It always is the truth. The lone wolf, this whole I'm a lone wolf, I'm going to do it by myself. This is why you have men since COVID 6 times the national average killing themselves. Oh, dang it. YouTube's going to tag me. Dang it. I meant to say on a live. This video is going to get docked. I already know. All right. So you can see me take the video down. You know what it is. But unaliving themselves. I forgot you have to use certain words here. And you have all these videos. Go look it up. Don't take my word for it. Just Google, look on YouTube for a day. I'm 45, no friends. I'm 50, no friends. I'm 25, no friends. They're not invested. Nobody wants to put effort in building a community. No one join churches, join hobbies, get hobbies, do this stuff. They really aren't actively doing it or pursuing it. So then they're just out there like a lone wolf and crying on the internet about it. Right? It's not good. It's not healthy. It doesn't work long term. It just doesn't. Okay. So extended families, you're going to start seeing those trends. You're going to start seeing where you have the houses with the ADU units on the back. You're going to start seeing people move back into some of these older, big Victorian houses because it did really work. The model worked. And again, when they do the surveys for who's having the most kids, it's the uber religious and the uber wealthy. Now, who are those people? They had a study in New York. The Jewish communities are having 4 to 6 kids. The church I'm at in Austin, I'm at 2 different churches, but both of them, the average woman, when I meet at one, is having 4 to 6 kids. And so it's abnormal. You're like, oh my God, that's a lot of kids. But it's because let's just go there, it's somewhat of a trend, and it's somewhat, we have money and love to spare, right? People are adopting a 4th, 5th kid, right? The trend I'm seeing is also Muslim communities. If you're in Detroit or you're in Dearborn, if you notice in Dearborn, some of the houses look like somebody knocked the top off and added another layer. That is Muslim families that have sometimes multiple wives and sometimes had 8, 9 kids. It's been happening a lot in Dearborn. The school system has been like, whoa, doing tallies. They know the numbers are crazy. Same thing with the Mormons. Same thing with ultra wealthy families. And they wrote the article kind of as a slap to people like, oh, the ultra wealthy are having 6 kids. Ryan Reynolds has 4 kids. That's ridiculous. Sierra and Russell are now having another baby. That's what you're supposed to do. What do you want these people to do with their time? Donate it to charity? They have their own kids. They're donating it to their children, their legacy. Russell Wilson's kids will never want for nothing, including Future. Little Future is also in that, and they'll want for nothing. They'll have purpose and mission and assets that they manage, right? So again, let me read y'all comments, and I'm gonna kind of wrap it up. But you guys see, I have my America shirt on today. America in my shades, because I'm checking out some real estate properties around the corner with family and with some other friends, and so we're working today. Today is a work day. I just took a break to do this one because I knew I had to do it. Let me get here real quick. I saw a couple of Goddess. I meant to address this. I left it on screen so long. I apologize. How I feel as the only child. I was my mother's only focus. If I did well, I did really well. If I messed up, I really messed up. Yeah, it's out of balance, you know. Spinster was really what they called a woman who could sew, and if she did really well, she had a little shop, or she did so much in her town, she could take care of herself. Right? She wasn't in a bad position. Now, yes, was there some ladies of the butch haircut? Sure, yeah, there was an itching. Trying to be careful. Not the Spencer aunt. Yeah. A lot of adults are lazy. This is why multi-general households stopped in the Black community. People decide to leech off the family, so it stopped. Yes, this is unfortunate. If you do not, let's just be honest, if you are unproductive and you cannot instill productiveness into your children, it will destroy your family. And I will say personally, we know a family in North Carolina right now, and they've been friends of our family for over 70 years. And we've watched their wealth completely be destroyed by their kids. They only had 2 kids. Both kids were extremely unproductive. When the one decided to get productive, she actually ended up having a heart attack and died. That left them with one son that was super unproductive, and they bought him a house. They bought him cars. They have done everything they can do to prop this man up, and he was in his 50s. He's on his like 4th wife, and they had a grandchild from the daughter, and they helped prop him up too, right? And then eventually, in the end, they looked out. I pretty much would guess they've spent over $400,000 of their wealth into those kids. And when we started asking them questions like, "What are y'all gonna do with all these properties and stuff?" And they're like, "Our son really can't manage it because he's a dummy," right? Like I would hate to say it any other way. Like, he's a dummy. And their grandson doesn't want to manage it because he's spoiled. So they're going to just liquidate everything. And I'm not being a jerk, but I'm like, I told our family, like, tell them I want to buy some of that stuff. Like, don't let it go to the grave with you, because I know what's going to happen if it goes to the son or the grandson. I'm just going to call them and be like, hey, cuz, because we're not related, but we've known our families for 7 years, right? I'm just going to go, hey, let me buy it from you. And they'll sell it to me. And that's unfortunate, but I think that's what's going to end up happening. And so you have to instill a productivity into the kids. You can't just spoil them and give them. And I think that's where our families differ. My grandma was more a little heavier handed, and you're going to be productive and you're going to collectively help us because we have to help each other. And one of my grandmother's children died. And I think that forced her to make all the kids work together, closer, tighter, because she didn't want to lose any more kids, right? So I also have an uncle, great uncle. He had a son drown and another son died. And so even his kids are very like, we got to work together. We got to keep all these properties, because that kind of fear of death and fear of loss. And so you have to realize, you have to examine what kind of kids you have and what kind of structure you're putting in them. There's countless articles. There's a really popular one about Black middle-class families. Their sons normally go back to poverty. It's really unfortunate. Their daughters too. But what I think happens is we become a little bit spoiled. And sometimes in our community, we don't have the connections, the network, or the organizations to tell us, go follow this path and do this. Now, when I was going to private school and I was playing golf, I was playing tennis, I was going to these certain events, I realized then they were kind of grooming us to marry marry this guy over here, right? Kind of thing. And there's a family that knows our family, and they always thought I was going to marry their son, who was quite dorky and weird. And now looking back in time, I was like, damn, that'd have been the best deal ever. He was a doctor. Ended up becoming a doctor. So that'd have been a great deal for me, right? But it's one of those things where if people aren't molding and shaping you and grooming you and teaching you this direction, you'll just kind of float. And that's what happens in those communities. Yeah, that's like the show Worst Roommates on Netflix, trying to house hack and you end up dead. Oh, Lord. Don't tell me about that. I don't even want to watch it. We had a ton of people in our house, but the dwindling down. Yes, terrible. Everybody hates Chris. Woo! Years after watching the channel, I finally caught alive. Hey, welcome to the channel. Let's see what I'm Everybody knows a buddy. He can do a little plumbing, a little electrical, a little carpentry. He's a jack of all trades, but works for me. And he exclusively works for our family. Like, I'm not even being funny. He actually is housed at one of our family's houses and exclusively works for us. And it's cool. Everybody's cool with it. Like, he literally derives his livelihood from just our family. Like, now we do take him, like, y'all know about my nephew has all these yards. He has like 70 plus yards. He does. He's only 16. He goes to school. So when we have extra work that he can't do, we hey buddy, can you help him out? Can you do this? Can you do that? We'll pay you. Right? It happens all the time. Happens all the time. But yeah, everybody knows a little buddy. If you're in the Southeast, I'll say that. Let me correct myself. Everybody doesn't know a buddy, but in the South, most people have a buddy. Now, do the buddy exclusively work for their family? I don't know. I'm not trying to make it like my family's the Rockefellers, but I'm just saying he only works for us and he lives at one of our family houses. So it's one of those things. Family is living in silos. Yeah, it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous because then all of a sudden you hear these moms like, my son's been doing drugs, or this random thing happened, and you're like, well, why are you in this silo? Why is nobody else able to speak to your children? Nobody else able to instruct them. Somebody else would have caught it if you'd allowed other people to be in their lives. When you don't have the kids aren't in sports, they're not in music, they're not in any kind of structure. I don't know what y'all think these kids are going to do, right? Like, I keep seeing more parents online complaining about their kids doing nothing. And then you see what they have structured for them. It's nothing. You see what they have. They have no summer plans for them. They have no volunteering. And then they're like, I don't know why these kids ain't doing nothing. And I'll be like, you ain't provided nothing for them to do. I'd rather have a compound. Oh, for sure. Listen, the compound theory you're going to see more of too, right? Here in Texas, when I drive off this highway going back towards Austin, there's like a house and then two houses behind it. And I was like, that's perfect, because then you'd have your grandparents over here and a brother-in-law or somebody's going to be in that back house. There's enough space between everybody. Grandma, grandpa, everybody's a whisper away. They are, right? And you couldn't cut up in town because they could find you and they could whoop your butt, that kind of thing. In-law suites, yeah. Build a village if you're not born. Yeah, so Brandy, it's not over with if you don't have a village. You can build one, and I'm gonna give an example, and people are gonna be very offended by what I say here, and you can get over it. The gay community went to San Francisco and built a little community. You know, in the 80s and 90s, when AIDS started coming out, and people were like, "Oh my God, AIDS is just taking people out of it." San Francisco, you know, Rock Hudson. I watched the documentary the other day, and I really want to say we'll never have that class of an actor in America again. That was a time where you put your clothes on, you went out the house, you act like you had some sense. Even if you had a wild, crazy private life, it was your private life. We didn't know about it, right? Now, these new generation of stars and people, they got to show everybody they naked and everybody who they messing with, and it's unfortunate because we'll never have that generation of movies. And it actually, when I watched the documentary, as much as I was like, ugh, I was like, I gotta go back and watch his movies. He did some quality work. But you'll never have that again. But again, the gay community realized we have to build a village to help each other because people are hurting us. Same thing with the Asian community. If you look back at some of the movies and materials and news for the 80s, you know, this whole Asian hate thing is kind of comical now because it's not really as bad as it was in the 80s. Like, people were beating the crap out of Asians in parts of California, like violently. Asians would go to jail or prison and be horribly beat up, right? Because they were like, you know, not on a team, right? The best way I can say it. So, too many slackers are looking forward to living with my family. I would only house my parents. Tiffany, you know, here's the thing: there's rules, and that's what people don't like, right? I want to be a slob, a bum. I want to live however I want. I have 12 dogs and do whatever. Okay, then go live in your own house. Feel free to go do that. But this is why you're going to see rooming houses and boarding houses go up so much. This is why you see so many group homes, because these men that are isolated, no family, no friends. I don't want to follow any rules. I'll quit a job whenever. That's where that leads you. Pretty much to being a homeless man. Like I make fun of Aaron Clary. He's like, well, if they have no debt, they'll be fine. I'm like, Aaron, let's say the man has no debt. He has no house. He just has an apartment. He has an old paid off car. He ain't, he barely scrapes by. He does just enough work not to have to work a 9 to 5. One medical emergency, oh boy is homeless. He's homeless. That's just where that goes. So I grew up in multi-generational housing. My mom, my sister, and my cousin with my grandparents. Oh, Jesus. And sometimes my uncles. Y'all had a party in there. That's a lot of people. Our community stopped planning for families long ago. It's like babies just happen. Oh yeah. And when I tell people, hey, I'm gonna have about 5 kids, they're like, oh, how you're getting older. And I'm like, a combination of adoption and this, yes, this is what's about to happen. And they get like, oh my God, it's crazy. That's crazy. And I go, it's not. What am I gonna make all these millions of dollars for? For 2 kids? For 1 kid? That's stupid. That's crazy. Why would I do all that? Like I look back at our family's wealth and legacy and how much our grandparents struggled, and I'm like, what a dishonor it would be for me to die without kids because of all the struggle they went through. And we just like, oh, I can't do it. That's true. Families are powerful buying houses and estates with family belief. Yeah. Like right now, this girl, the girl that works at the office where my office is, her father's buying her a house. He's basically going to be half and half on the note or cosign essentially for the house. And everybody's like, girl, do you know how amazing that is? At 24, 25 years old, a black woman in America with student loan debt? You better be thankful your dad's doing that. And so she's kind of like shrugging shoulders, like, what? But later, I think she'll understand. September search has already begun. Like you said, I have 2 job offers in front of me. Salute. Welcome to Texas. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Yep, there's an article called Haiti's Lost Billions. Yeah. And the Clinton family was over there doing that, digging in the mines. But we're going to leave that conversation alone. Americans have preached nuclear family so much, but we really need whole family units, grandparents, and everything for sure. For sure. There's a preacher right now getting in trouble because his video went viral. He's like, when your son and daughter get married, they go off to create their own family. People in the comments are like, no, no. And they're like, they don't have to come to your Christmas. They don't have to come to your Thanksgiving. And I go, that's how you wake up and the kids don't know who their cousins are. They don't know their relatives. They don't know their family history. They're just in these isolated silos. So yes, they should go create their own houses and do stuff, but ultimately they still need to be plugged into the overall unit. For sure. They get money on everything they bought. But yeah, you guys go check out Tracy Turner's channel. Here, I think it's here. Check out Tracy Turner, her husband. They lived in Raleigh. They moved it back to DC area, making good money, living the dream. Houston, yep, Houston's changed those rules. Let me see. That's how big we are. Yeah. Cost of living. Yeah, the cost of living is going to drive this trend back into it. That's why when you see people talk about who can afford to buy a house, well, I'm here in Austin, and I would see 3 young white dudes get in together and buy a house. And then as they got married, they'd rent all the rooms out, right? And then eventually they're like, well, Austin appreciation had got so big, they were like, let's sell this house and let's split the extra 300,000 in equity, like 100 for you, 100 for me, 100 for you. So it works because it works, but you have to have people on the like-minded level, thinking level, smart level. House hacking works when people have skin in the game. Oh yeah, listen. In China, people stay there till they got a lot of money saved up. In parts of Italy, the average person leaves at 27. In Italy, what's the age? There's a couple of countries where it's like in your 20s, right? And so they think being in America is very lonely because you come home to nobody. There's nobody already cooking dinner. There's nobody already helping collectively wash clothes. And I was watching the video about it. He was saying, well, it was good and bad in the Victorian area because you could have 25 people in a house and you got 3, 4 women and they're always having to cook because there's so many people who need food. So there's components to it. This is an individualistic society. It's not going to work for Black folks. Too much competing within the family. Nobody cares. Sophie Love, unfortunately, I've seen it happen. It's almost like you have to have one super dominant cousin, and then the rest of the family will follow that super dominant cousin. Uh, and that's what I've noticed with a lot of Black families, right? Or there's this like, oh, you're doing that, I can do that too, right? That's why you'll see a family, if one person becomes a trucker and makes money, now all the cousins want to do trucking. If one or two family members are a nurse, now everybody want to be a nurse, right? If one or two cousins are flipping real estate, now everybody want to flip real estate. I actually had a client off this channel who was I'm trying to be discreet, I can't really. He was in Florida making a ton of money in a healthcare field, but his brother-in-law was flipping real estate in the New York, New Jersey area, and the jealousy within him is what motivated him to book me for like $5,000 for 2 months, and I helped him get his funding. I helped him get his organization together. I helped him get ready to build all these properties and buy some low income rentals in the Northeast, and then also flip a few properties in Florida. And it was the best $10,000 I ever made. But it literally, as soon as he got his foot into the traction, he was taking off to the races. And I was like, where's this energy coming from? But the more he talked about it, I realized it was literally, he just saw his brother-in-law making all this money, and he was a healthcare professional, and he thought the status of his job was more important than that guy. And that was his motivation. And so it's hard to talk to people like that, because you're like, instead of thinking that way, you could collaborate with your brother-in-law and y'all could own an apartment building. Y'all could own a 20 unit, a 30 unit. But that, you are right. There are some people who are in a competition mode. And even for me, I've told my siblings, hey, listen. I have one sibling told me, come out here, come work for me. Help me build this dynasty. Help me. I need your help. The other sibling, I'm like, I'll help you build it over there. I'll buy this land. We'll do it half and half. We'll use each other's credit. We'll get this built up, and we can either sell it or keep it. And then that'll allow us to have money to do our other projects. And so I think now the time has turned, because how long can you watch one sibling literally run a business, travel the world, speak on stages, and be resistant? It doesn't make sense after a while. After a while, you're like, okay, I'm just being stupid. She's offering to help. She's offering, let's partner, let's work together. And they'll jump with it. So I understand your sentiment, and I agree. Let me go here. She's the third Black influencer that has done that with the white guy. Yeah, Mrs. Hill, that's very, but this is the thing. I'm from a military town, and I've seen so many different collaborations of Black women, white men, Asian men, Black women, like all kinds. Because what happens in the military is we all working together. And so eventually we just interact with people that are right near us. Proximity is the most important thing. And people, once they get past some of this color stuff, not all of it, the proximity that you and Redneck John over here is in the same. Like, there's one Black girl on Instagram. She was 3 years older than him. She had a kid, but they worked at the car dealership together in sales. Well, they got married. She went on to do something else because she was able now with a husband to be able to go take classes and do something else. And he's still in car sales. And now they have multiple kids together, plus her son. So when people saw him, they're like, whoa, baby, your second child look white. Well, yeah, because I'm Black and my first son is Black, right? And so there's a lot of that on Instagram. But I think it's just because people are interested, right? They're like, oh, that's interesting. I've seen two cousins in their late 50s and 60s who are trifling. Oh, Jesus. Not trifling. Trifling. And giving my aunt the flukes. I don't know, acid reflux maybe. They live in an extended household, and almost my 80-year-old aunt carries almost everything. Oh, yeah. And when she passes, God bless her. I hope she doesn't pass anytime soon. But when she does, you will see homelessness from those two. And people are going to be like, Erica, that's horrible what you're saying. But so many times in our Black community, we say, well, Black men being homeless isn't about laziness. 9 times out of 10, when I've worked at homeless shelters and you're talking to the men, it's a pride issue. Oh, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to go apologize. I'm not going to go live with my kids. Well, sir, you're homeless. What is the breaking point here? And so by the time you see somebody who's 60, 70 years old homeless, a couple things have happened. Either they came out of prison late and everybody they had in their family done died, right? That's unfortunate. But there's halfway houses for that, right? Or they've had mental illness for a long time, so now they're in their 60s, they're homeless. Their wife died and they lost their mind. Like there's the reasons people are homeless that long or that late in life. These make-up Hollywood stories of like, oh, they got sick and medical bills lost everything. If you don't have money to pay your medical bills, you just wouldn't pay them. You just keep on living your life. It's not the medical bills, right? It is the life choices. It is the not unlearning and learning new skills and getting in better situations. Because really, my grandpa is 91 years old, and 60-year-old women are still trying to get married to him at his church. And I'm like, what the what? But you got to realize people are getting older and they see this person has resources and can take care of me. All I'm doing is cooking and we're being in companionship with each other at that age. You know what I mean? I'm hoping, right? That's so again, people get into these situations where they be trifling for so long, they're gonna be just like our family friends. I'm gonna end up having to buy all the property from them. I already know. So they hate seeing folks win that weren't supposed to. Yeah, that happens. If it didn't stay on my boots about people trying to live off her for free, her life would be a mess. Ooh, Jesus. Somebody said, yep, I got two male cousins. Ooh, one's 40 with 6 kids and the other 46 with one grandchild. And they both still live with her. Yet talk trash about other people's family. Be like, and you know what? And that's the thing. We've allowed, I know y'all not gonna like me. We've allowed people to say, I'm a man. You gotta listen to me. If you don't have results, if you don't have things I want to hear, I'm not listening to you, brother. I don't care who you are. I'm older than you. Respect me, baby. There, you can't be respected if you have no resources and nothing to respect. This is very simple. Even older women, there's a couple older women in our family, and I'm having to tell them, listen, I'm about to put a life insurance policy on you because you ain't getting your life together. And everybody's like, Erica, you can't say that. Oh my God, boo, Erica. I'm like, I said it and I meant it. They better get their life together because I'm gonna make sure I have a policy on them because they're gonna come looking for somebody. Oh, we need help burying them because they didn't have their shit together. Anybody want to throw in? Oh, I will throw in. I have a policy. Yes, I will. And that's the truth of it. Like you can't be an older adult with your shit not right. Like I know about 3 men now who are older with multiple kids. They don't live with him. Nobody listens to them about kids because they're like, your kids ain't doing anything. And they can't, right? Man of Tomorrow did a great video talking about reptiles and mammals. Mammals take care of their babies, they hold their babies, they get their babies ready for adult life. Reptiles, lizards, they have a baby and walk off from the tree and leave the baby right there. Figure it out. They have a frog baby just figuring it out. They have a lizard baby just figuring it out. They got a snake baby just got to figure it out. They got a turtle baby just got to figure out how to swim and get to the ocean. And you can't be a reptile in America. And what is a reptile? A man or woman run around having multiple kids and has no plan and desire to straighten them up or get their life in any kind of order. We can't do nothing with those people. You've literally let them fend to the wolves, and they're just going to start from scratch because that's where it's at, right? There's a video this guy put out a year ago. And in his comment section, he's like, oh, black male homelessness is not about laziness. In his comment section, there's a guy who's 42. He's like, this is my third time starting over. I've been homeless when I was a teenager. I've been homeless when I was in my 20s. This is my third time starting over. I got another divorce. And at some point, you have to ask that guy, sir, you're 42. It sounds like a you problem. You're on the cusp of homelessness. There should be no fancy cars. There should be no fancy dinners. There should be no new clothes bought. At least for a year, just a year sacrifice, just so that you can have that cushion. But these will be the same adults you'll look up and they got a brand new 30-day tags on their car. Why? They got a Mustang. They got a Camaro. Why? Because they wanted it. There's no real plan. I gotta wrap this up. We're going over. Let me see. I'm from Detroit. I had neighbors when I lived in Warrendale on Detroit-Dearborn border. They had a basement. It would be 8 to 10 deep down there. Ugh. Too many people in the basement. Now, some basements in Detroit be leaking water. If you can't come together when times are good, all family and friends are on their own. Right? Fourth wife. Woo! Does he have any money left? Man, these people be getting married out here. It's crazy. What's good? Thank you, Dre Harden, for the $10 super chat. My grandfather left the house to my youngest aunt. She gutted the garage and basement, installed 2 apartment units. My 2 cousins live there, and it's working perfectly. A Victorian Oakland City Bay. Yes. Money. I love it. That's very smart. Congratulations to her. Now they won't lose that house because they were thinking. San Francisco Castro District is its own city. You already know. I've been watching older movies now because movies are terrible. They're so dumbed down because people can't use big words and don't want to Google them. The Rock Hudson, when I looked at the documentary, what was funny about the documentary, I'm being careful because his life was sad and funny, but it was like he was playing these roles and it was almost a mockery of his life. Because this is the time when the Hollywood executives controlled the newspaper. Everybody knew each other. The money moved around. You pushed out the story you wanted them to hear. Media is now not as centralized. And so now somebody like me can come on YouTube. And if I was to drop, if I went Ty Lopez style and dropped $50,000 to $100,000 in ads, I can turn around millions of dollars for myself, right? As you see, some of these sports podcasters are making more money than people on ESPN. They're making more money and getting more views than people on HCTV. All this stuff, right? So, but really, that Rock Hudson documentary made me want to go back and watch old movies because they have quality. Not twerking, not twerking. Okay, have you read Pocket Neighborhoods Creating Small Scale Community in a Large Scale World? Yes. This will work in a lot of places. There's a book called Localism. I think I'm messing up the title, but essentially saying how people are moving further out and kind of only shopping local. And studies show we only go 8 miles from our house. We go to a grocery store, we go to gas stations. That's why everybody makes fun of America looking the same because Americans don't want to drive past 8 miles past their house. The farthest they will drive is for work. Uh-oh, Shafar, literally my brother is that statistic. Middle class upbringing and rebellious all the way into poverty. Yep. Nice shades, Erica just passing through on lunch break. Got a new truck, still on the grind. Love to see you moving and growing. Thank you. I have good stuff I'm gonna put out. My sister got married last year at 49. Congratulations. It still counts. My sister and a few of her cousins pulled together our family reunion. 200 family members showed up. Congratulations. A lot of families will take successful members to take care of all the others. Yep, and the families won't. There you go. This is facts. The other family members won't step up and do what they got to do. But that's when you hold the purse strings, like the LeBrons and the successful people in your family. Hey, you can go to community college and get this certificate, and we're gonna do this, right? There was a guy we're gonna work with in Houston, and he's basically he put his sons to work. One son does this part of the government contracts, this son does the other part. And it's like that way they'll both work and they'll both have skin in the game. They're not just living off him. Yeah, military people, it's all colors beside it. Um, Alabama is one of the holdovers though. Alabama and Mississippi, because it's so unbalanced there and so clearly unbalanced that when you see incidents like that, they thought casually they could just get away with 6, 7 people beating up this guy who was working a job. I don't think they would have did that to a white guy telling them to get off the dock. I'm just being honest. I don't think they would have did that. So, all right. Do you believe it's important to only partner with people that live an honorable, clean lifestyle? Like, is it inconsequential to have a business partner or mate that cheats on their spouse? So, I would never work with someone who cheats on their spouse because if that's the person they're supposed to be the most honorable with, they'll do you dirty, right? There's a couple people I will not work with because their wives are very dangerous. Their wives are just like viciously dangerous and tearing them down. And I won't work with them because I know what that leads to. If she'll do that to you, she'll do worse to me. She'll damn stab me, right? I know several people who have job sites out here. They won't work with certain guys because they're like, oh, his wife is crazy. She'll be out here at the job site. She'll be doing all kind of crazy stuff. So no, you have to be very smart about who you pick. And now here's the thing: when you hold a standard, sometimes it can be lonely till new people come in. But this is why I'm always telling you about networking and going to events because you shouldn't be in a place where if one person goes away, everything in your world falls down. No, no. There should be so many people in the sidelines, it ain't even a thing. Right. And I'm not saying do every business by yourself, but you should be such at a caliber that you could take your money and start the process so that it makes sense when somebody sees you like, oh, I can help you in this process. I can work with you. So again, be smart about that. The community does not understand what it is to sacrifice for the collective. My dad left Nigeria during the Beth Wars and spent 40 years sending money home. Not one of his siblings helped. Yeah, there is no, and so here's the thing. And I've told y'all this, and man, this is going a little long, it's hour 15, but I want to be really clear on this. What happens is if you're going to help your family and friends, your level of success needs to be so high that it's just a spillover. Let me say that again. When you decide I'm going to help my family and friends, I'm going to do this thing, your level of success needs to be so high that it's just a spillover. Right? You can't literally make $1 and give your family 50 cents. It doesn't work because you'll never have the base for yourself. And I've been victim of this. I've helped family members with house payments and all kind of stuff. And I realized looking back, that was dumb. I could have went and bought my own house. I could have went and bought 2 houses down the street from them. There's a lot of things I could have done. I could have bought that house on auction. I could have did a lot of stuff. But what happens is you have to build up your base so strong that they have to come to you under the guise of your rules. And then therefore that's the sacrifice you're willing to put with them. And any money you give them at some point, you have to decide, am I going to do this? Never, ever follow me without a plan. And if he doesn't have a plan and you have a plan and he won't get on board with your plan, let him go. I'm telling y'all that to save you your life. Save your life. I let somebody go on my path like that. He had no plan, but I'm having a plan. He's like, I don't know. I'm just going to do it. Like, no, you can't float aimlessly while my plan is doing this. That's not going to work for me. You can go ahead and go, sir. Have a great day. Cooking, companionship, and occasional spun bath. Listen, I don't even want to think about it. Blech. I have an insurance policy on my brother. Oh, for sure. Let's be honest. These people don't have the infrastructure to help people. Other communities do. Those of us with information and capital should be invested in helping. I love the JCC. What's that? You can build insurance ways. Yes. I hear what you're saying. Yes, I hear what you're saying. But in general, I think people don't even have enough money to have regular health policies on themselves, life policies, car policies on their daggone selves. Luckily, almost all the adults own a home in the family. We match the sharecropper family work. Yeah, there you go. A cheater lacks self-control and good character. Yeah. Right. Like there's, and also too, am I savage today? Am I being bad today? I'm being mean to y'all? I don't think I am. I would say this. I would say I may be being savage, but the truth of it is, there's a lot of people that's gonna get left off. They're gonna fall off the turnip truck, and you might just have to let them fall. You know what I'm saying? Kind of thing. You might just have to let them go off the turnip truck. This is what I mean about the bell curve. You should be above or higher. Yeah, right. So, I mean, my biggest thing to y'all is you're going to see a return of this kind of housing. You're going to see more marriages with 40s and 50s. You're going to see more kids from people in their 40s and 50s all of a sudden. And it's because they get to a point where they have no purpose in their life. Like we end up running into one of our old friends and she was so fucking miserable. It was insane. I was like, what is your problem? But it's just like she has nothing but just time to, oh, if my life was this, if this and this happened, if I did this, if I traveled the world. And it's like, I never want to wake up one day and be that person. Never. Like, if you want to travel somewhere, go. If you want to build a dream, build it. But don't say it's because my cousin, it's because my sister, it's because my daddy. Like, y'all be in y'all 50s blaming people for why your life sucks. It's crazy. Yeah, most people can't afford buses. Oh, the glasses. Yeah, Racho. Look, I got the America shirt and the glasses together. Somebody y'all can take a screenshot of this for me. Bam, did it. All right. I gotta get out of here because this phone about to die. I gotta go record at this site we're building out here. So I know y'all want to see that. So I gotta finish recording it. So this is your girl Erica from the Classic Line Blog. I hope this was helpful. I hope it was instrumental and instructional in your plan. You guys can go Google some of these guys returning, which I told y'all this before. You're going to start seeing a bunch of these YouTubers that are traveling and moving overseas. They're coming back to America because they get to Africa and realize you don't have no skills and you have nothing to contribute. um, or they're getting over to South America and realizing 60% of the mom are single moms. What? Like what? South America? Yeah, those beautiful ladies down there. And so you're going to see a lot of people returning because they don't have families and they don't have this structure of community. If you're an expat, the first thing people do in those countries is go make other communities. When we took our Panama trip with all our guests, we got down to Panama and we kept running into Americans who were like, "What's up? Come over here. Let's do this." And that's what you should do. If you're an expat, when you get there, you need to find the first expat group you can join, and then you need to think about buying property. Because trust me, them Jewish kids from New York are going down to Panama right now. They buying up stuff. They going to the Dominican Republic. We were in Panama, and the Panama people were trying to get us to go over to the Dominican Republic on a private plane with them and invest over in Dominican Republic. And I was like, damn, y'all must think I'm money long, long. And so you have to really be prepared. Be prepared, right? If you're gonna move overseas, do you really have the skills to move overseas and work and live and not at the end of the year come back to America and cry about how bad Africa was and how unorganized it was, and or come back from South America and complain about the women, and like, you got to have skills and you got to have some type of ability to talk to others, because if not, you're gonna be back in the same spot, right? Because you're gonna get down there and realize they're living in houses with families, they're working together, and that's the same thing you're going to end up having to do in America. Here or there, your choice, right? Anyways, this is your girl from the Classic Climb blog. I got to get to work. Later, you guys. Be good.